"Keep it simple, stupid," said Kelly Johnson to his engineers when they had to design a new jet aircraft in the 1960s. He and his team created famous spy airplanes like the U-2 and the SR-71. Why is KISS important also for this channel? And how can you profit from this short sentence? Gritty YouTubers, here is the guy with the Swiss accent, with a new episode and fresh ideas around sensors and microcontrollers. Remember, if you subscribe, you will always sit in the first row. We are in 2023, so I asked the hottest tech of the day, ChatGPT, about KISS. This new artificial intelligence robot understands your questions and answers in natural language. This is what it wrote. The KISS concept is a design principle that suggests that simplicity is key to creating effective and efficient systems. There are several benefits to following the KISS principle. Simplicity leads to ease of use. Simplicity leads to reliability. Simplicity leads to cost effectiveness. Simplicity leads to adaptability. To follow the KISS principle, it is important to focus on a design or system and avoid adding unnecessary complexity. This can involve making trade-offs or sacrifices in some areas in order to achieve simplicity in others. Not bad for a robot, I have to say. But what's the relation to this channel? I receive a lot of positive feedback. Some wrote that a video was easy to understand, and others wrote that I covered all essential aspects in just a few minutes. And others show how they integrated parts of my video into their projects. All aspects of the KISS concept. But how do I achieve these effects? Is it a secret? And what is in for you if you know how I do it? First, KISS is a lot of hard work and, as ChatGPT wrote, always starts with focusing on the core functions and features. But how can we find out what this is? For me, focusing on a use case and users is easier. The users in my case are the potential viewers. Focus means to say no to all things not in focus. From all people watching YouTube, I selected people who love to create electronic devices, not only to use them. This is why I hardly show finished consumer electronics, even if I often get requests from manufacturers. You only see tests of tools or material for our projects on this channel. Because my viewers want to build their own solutions, my videos should enable them to create flexible systems according to their needs or wishes. And often I show a small sample project. Are there more selection criteria for my viewers? Yes, they have to be advanced users or ambitious beginners. This criterion is mainly for me. I'm an engineer and not a teacher. I want to learn with my projects, have fun, and not only teach things I learned a long time ago. And I know my typical viewers are busy and want to get the most out of their hobby time. This is why my designs should work and not take too long to complete. So we defined the focus of my videos based on the use cases and the users. Now we can talk about simple or simplicity. Again, I asked ChatGPT and its answer was basic or fundamental. Something that is simple is essential or fundamental and not made up of more complex or derived elements. Not complex or intricate. Something that is simple is not made up of too many parts or features and does not have a lot of details or complications. Easy to understand or do. Something that is simple is straightforward and requires little effort to comprehend or accomplish. Also here, its answer is impressive. The first definition translated in our language is a blink sketch for an Arduino, for example. Not the simplicity which attracts us. We want more. The following definition fits better because it introduces the words intricate and complicated. There is a massive difference between complex and complicated. KISS focuses precisely on this difference. You are mistaken if you think a jet engine is not complex. It stays complex even when we apply all KISS principles. What we want to attack with KISS is the complicatedness, that I define as complexity without or with a negative value to the user or the use case. Typical examples are product manuals or project descriptions focused on functions. Unfortunately, this is considered as complicated for all casual users or beginners who will never use these functions. It not only has no value, but it also confuses them. It is much better to start with a typical use case and later describe all functions, maybe even in the annex. This is, by the way, what I suggest to all my students for their thesis. Creating an annex at the beginning of the work is my first pro tip. For a student, it is often easier to place it in the annex rather than leaving it out. For my videos, it means that they have to include all the needed stuff for a successful beginning and links to additional sources. Video comments often are also a valuable source of additional information. Thanks go to all commenters who share their knowledge. Introducing layers helps a lot to manage complexity. If you dig deep enough, everything gets complex. One way of reducing complexity is to create layers and encapsulate the parts on lower layers. This reduces the number of parts and, therefore, complexity for a casual user. Encapsulated parts work through well-defined interfaces with the higher levels and usually are thoroughly tested before they are used. Frequent viewers know that I love to stand on the shoulders of giants, enabling me to integrate many lower-level functions to create simpler designs faster. This is why I search for libraries, modules, or projects instead of parts and hardcore programming. Very different from engineers or organizations suffering from the "not invented here" syndrome. You can argue that using libraries or modules does not reduce the overall complexity. Still, they are significant for simplicity. If we use reliable and tested modules, we only have to understand how to use them and not how to build them, which is much simpler. Just think of driving a car compared with building a car. The ultimate complexity reduction would be to show you finished goods. Unfortunately, this would hurt other principles mentioned before. Choosing the right level is a typical dilemma I have to solve every time I start a new video. Again, focusing on the use case and the user helps me make this decision. I would have made a wrong decision if nothing had been left to build for the viewers. And if I choose a too low level, it would be too much work to achieve a result. Both would not fit the needs of my viewers. The same dilemma has to be solved by everybody. Here is an example. I saw a few videos of programmers who fear ChatGPT because it can write simple programs. Indeed, this is fascinating, and I'm sure I will try it out in the future. But whether it is scary or a chance for somebody depends on which layer they want to work. On the programmer's level, a robot programmer is a stiff competitor because it does not sleep. The same robot is a massive chance for an analyst on a higher layer. He can ask the robot for different designs, compare them, and decide which one is best. He greatly benefits from making the level below faster and more productive. I always try to choose one main level for one video and stick with it. In addition to the main level, I give some background about the lower levels to understand how things work. And I try to show potential applications which are one level above. My digression on the lower level should enable you to debug and extend the knowledge if you want to adapt things presented in the video. The digression to the level above should support your imagination on how to use it. So my advice for 2023 is to focus your efforts on one level, trying to understand one level below, and using the level above to sell your work. Salespeople should add more knowledge of the level above and technical people of the level below. And here is another pro tip. Choose one tiny part where you learn the details and mention them in a casual conversation. If executed correctly, nobody will ask for more, and everybody thinks you know all the other details too. Next, we have to talk about shortcuts or leaving things away. How can we determine whether a shortcut reduces complicatedness or removes valuable functionality? Mr. Einstein said, "Everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler." That is a wise sentence from a wise man. But how do we deal with it? Again, focusing on the use case and the user leads to the right decision. A time-saving shortcut for my channel could be to show you how to blink an LED. But this would be too simple and you would not appreciate it. This would be a wrong shortcut. A right shortcut is if I use a module instead of building the same functionality with parts, because it delivers the needed functionality and hides unnecessary complexity. It also helps my audience to get the most out of their limited time because they can use proven modules. The same applies to libraries and projects, by the way. But what about the point of the easiness of understanding? This one involves a lot of work and a bit of talent. The trick is to restrict the length of my videos to 10 to 15 minutes. This rule helps a lot in this respect. Creating long videos is much simpler than creating short ones with the same content. To achieve this goal, I have to understand a topic quite well to discover what is essential and what is not. Only with that knowledge it is possible to reduce the length of the video and still keep the important stuff in it. Or, as Einstein said, if you can't explain it, you don't understand it well enough. To achieve this goal, I write a first version of a script, rewrite it, and rewrite it again. Usually with one night in between. Nights help a lot to get a distance to your work. Coming back to where we started. KISS is a helpful concept if you focus on a use case and a user. It helps to reduce intricateness or complicatedness by reducing unnecessary parts. This is also the main secret of my videos. Going too far and removing needed complexity is not acceptable to the user. These are bad shortcuts. You can use KISS in your daily work if you are willing to focus and ask the right questions again and again. Is this part needed for the use case? Always avoid the "not invented here" syndrome. This is one of the biggest enemies of KISS because you cannot profit from ready-made components on lower levels. Artificial limitation of resources like time or space often leads to a boost in creativity. One thing we should never forget, the importance of my Patreons. They stabilize the channel with donations and make it possible to run it. Fortunately, YouTube is my hobby. This is why I can stay independent and do not need to do advertisements or mid-roll ads. Unfortunately, I cannot show the names of all my Patreons. This is why I offer this possibility to the $25 and above tiers. I know that Dishka has more fans than me, so I try to be nice to her that she sometimes joins me in my lab. Thank you for watching. I wish you a happy 2023 with lots of successful projects. Bye!